This is Dream Chasers, episode 40, with Tom Ross. Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Adam Carswell, and welcome to Dream Chasers, Interviews with the Future. On Dream Chasers, we interview individuals with supernatural amounts of potential based on early success in their careers. Thank you for tuning in. Now let's get straight to the interview. Hey guys, this is Adam Carswell, and today I'm joined by Tom Ross. Tom is a serial entrepreneur and CEO of Design Cuts. He's originally from Surrey, which is a suburb of London in the UK, and went to St. Andrews, a university in Scotland. That happens to be where Prince William also went. So Tom now lives back in his hometown, Surrey. Tom, thank you for being a guest on the show. And do you have any opening remarks for our listeners?
Thanks so much for having me, Adam. Yeah, it's a real pleasure to be here. Opening remarks, maybe a little bit of trivia. So you mentioned about Prince William. I actually got his old room at university, which was pretty crazy. And you could see the rooms around it where like his bodyguards had to stay apparently.
Wow. Yeah. I wonder, is that room like something that everyone knows he stayed there now? Is it kind of like how do you even end up getting placed there? Is it just coincidence or what?
Yeah, I think it was just coincidence. I got that hall as a residence and then got that room. But it had a very nice ensuite, which I believe they built for him. So kind of lucked out there.
Nice. Guys, yeah, I want to give you a little bit of background on how Tom and I connected as well. It was over LinkedIn, which, I would say plenty of guests now so far on our show them and I have connected through LinkedIn, and it's continued to be a powerful tool. So real quick, a little advertising for LinkedIn. If you're not utilizing it as best as you can, guys, you got to get on there. It's the best way to grow your business, whether you're an entrepreneur or doing whatever it is that you're doing. You really make some great connections on there. So shout out to LinkedIn. Tom, thanks for being here. How long have you been operating Design Cuts?
Yeah, it's around 5 years now. And I always wonder at what point do you stop being a startup?
Yeah.
You don't really hear about like 30-year-old startups. So I'm sure there is some kind of cutoff point. But yeah, I still consider us a startup. I mean, I have totally invested in a foosball table and beanbags for the office, just trying to play that whole thing.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Yeah. And tell us now a little bit more about Design Cuts.
Yeah, we are a marketplace for designers. And so for any non-designers out there listening, think of us kind of similar to something like Amazon, but maybe smaller and less like evil in terms of crushing competition, maybe. But essentially, if you're a designer, you use stuff day to day like fonts and graphics and templates and Photoshop brushes and all that kind of stuff. And we basically act as middleman, where we work with the most talented product creators in the world, and then we help distribute their products to a community of like 500,000 designers out there, and in the process try and have some fun with them, educate them, inspire them, and all that kind of good stuff.
Interesting. So we'll do this, circle back to this again at the end of the interview, but for anyone listening that's in front of a computer that might want to kind of follow along as we go, what's the website?
So it's just designcuts.com.
Perfect. All right, Tom. Well, we are going to step into the next level chamber now. When did you first realize this was something that you wanted to take to the next level?
Honestly, from day one, I think. But I've been dabbling and been in this space since I was 12 years old. And what ended up happening was that I learned creativity, branding, and design in tandem with marketing, business, and entrepreneurship. And I freaking love the marriage of those two things. I think they're very powerful allies. And so being in both spaces and learning both simultaneously from a young age kind of led me to this company. And so I'd had a bunch of stuff before where I'd run a big design blog, for example. I'd been involved in all kinds of marketing efforts. So when it came to starting Design Cuts, it wasn't kind of like accidental that it took off, because we went from a standing start, like no investment, no upfront money apart from like buying a domain name, just time and work, to doing 7 figures in the first year, which was pretty nuts. I think that was because I had such a long foundation of trying stuff and learning and developing my skills that I could just kind of sprint from day one, and I knew where I wanted to take it.
Interesting. So I just had a couple questions run through my head. Hopefully I can remember them. The first one is, 7 figures in the first year. That's remarkable. And I know sometimes early success like that can be difficult to replicate because you're still kind of figuring out your systems and just how everything flows. So what was it like being able to replicate that 7-figure income, or did you, maybe you didn't, maybe it's something you had to learn along the way?
When you say replicate it, you mean keep it going year on year?
Correct. Yeah. Like continue to grow it. Cause I feel like that's a pretty successful first year.
Yeah, it was. To be honest, we scaled it from there. Yeah, we've now scaled up and outwards. We've got a team of 20 people and it's all touch wood going really well and it's really, really fun. But what that first year felt like was a combination of it going like a rocket and just trying to hold on for dear life and keep up with it. I think that's just symptomatic of finding real good product market fit, which leads to immense traction. So when something just naturally starts taking off and word of mouth spreads, that to an extent kind of goes beyond you. It's almost out of your hands and you just have to try not to screw it up, which is a fantastic thing, but also scary. And then alongside that, it felt like a drug because part of the reason it took off so quick is because I was basically killing myself trying to get it off the ground. I worked 100 hours a week, 18 hours a day for the first 18 months, ended up putting myself in hospital through that, having major stomach surgery and then making myself chronically ill for a 2-year recovery on the back of that. So that was like a real rough journey. But in that kind of 18-month period, when all you're doing is working and occasionally sleeping, it's like this unbelievably frenetic, crazy energy where you're just running on adrenaline the whole time. And it feels like a drug in the sense that when you're in that workaholic mindset, and I know you mentioned you're in Silicon Valley now, so I'm sure you see a lot of this around you. It's this whole kind of hustle culture thing, right? And I was living and breathing that. And so it's a drug in the sense that you feel like if you work harder, your business does better. And that's how it played out. And when the business does better, it makes you want to work harder. And then it's going round and round and round. So at the same time as just trying to hold on for dear life, I was also trying to push it for dear life as well, fueled by this kind of crazy addiction to work and results, which was spitting out.
Yeah, that's remarkable. And I recently had somebody on the show who talked about they had an older brother, I think, or someone in their family. And when they were younger, they said they remember looking over at him at the house, passed out at 3 a.m. with his laptop like in his lap, just sleeping. And he was kind of like, man, I can't wait for the day that I can fall asleep working. And not that that's like, you know, I guess it depends on how you argue it. Like you could always argue like that's a bad thing. But what he was trying to say was like, this individual fell asleep working because he was that in love with what he was doing. And it made him feel that good. It kind of goes hand in hand with what you're sharing about when you start to feel it and experience and you see those results and you love what you're doing, it's kind of only a good thing. I mean, I guess, you know, having surgery and stuff, that's where the blood, sweat, and tears kind of came for you in those first few years. But I mean, you resonate with that?
Yeah, I think like my whole brand now and what I do with my side hustle is called The Honest Entrepreneur. And I always try and be as transparent and truthful as possible. And the truth is I actually speak out now more in terms of trying to encourage balance because it really screwed up my life very badly. And at points, I still have some residual health issues now. So I'm like I've seen the doctor this week. This is like 4 years on, which is nuts. But when I was seriously ill, I'm talking like bedbound, it looked at points like I was never going to get better.
Wow.
And I thought I've screwed up the rest of my life just because I've been like binge listening to Gary Vaynerchuk and hustling my face off. And that's freaking nuts. And I think there's a lot of people doing that. And where the truth of it comes in, I think it's kind of being glamorized, the whole hustle culture thing. I think it can be hugely damaging, but at the same time, I'm not one of these people that works super hard, makes it, and then looks back and says, don't work hard because that's a bad thing. Because the truth is also I probably wouldn't be where I am now without ridiculous hard work. So I don't know the answer, to be honest. I know the answer is not hospitalizing yourself. In retrospect, I worked so hard because I was less experienced. If I went back with the brain I have now and the experience I have, I would have delegated more. I would have hired out quicker. I would have worked smarter than I did instead of just bleeding for it. But you can't really do that when you lack experience. The main thing you have is hard work. So I'm a firm believer in hard work, but I don't want to be one of these poster boys for it where it's like you need to be falling asleep on the floor and having no life. And that's like the coolest thing in the world because I think that can become pretty dangerous as well.
Yeah. Yes, there's definitely power and balance too, which was kind of like the direction I was trying to veer away from in that first statement. But again, you brought it to light. So definitely, you know, let's continue to address it. You have to have balance. And I think most of us hustlers out there can relate to this. For me, one thing that's worked tremendously is time blocking.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if
Yeah,
you,
me too.
yeah. So again, I guess tell us how you proactively use time blocking and, how you've been able to adjust your schedule so that way you're still productive and not killing yourself.
um, I mean, again, I think the truth shines through, and I still don't have this figured out. For example, I am struggling right now because things are so busy. I keep getting to the end of the day and having huge projects that I haven't got to yet.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is because my day now as CEO is just back to back calls and meetings. And so I get to the end of the day and they've gone great, but then I'm like, okay, now I've got like 100 emails to respond to and two big projects that I haven't had a chance to get to. So I definitely don't have all this figured out, but equally, I am starting to eliminate a lot of busy work through time blocking. So I tend to do that the night before. That's where you can literally lay out your day and do it in like 30-minute blocks, 15-minute blocks, hour blocks, and map out exactly what you want to get done. I think what's important is to have the context though, and realize with all these efficiency gurus and productivity gurus, they will preach stuff like, if you half your meeting times, you will get twice as much work done. What they leave out is the context of, if you pack in twice as many meetings into the same time, you're going to burn out faster and get tired faster.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a law of diminishing returns. You know what I mean? Like if you were doing 10 meetings in 10 hours, and you try and do 20 meetings in 10 hours, you're probably going to break. So it might be that you end up having a small net gain and doing 12 meetings in 6 hours, but working less.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the answer is always like more work, more efficiency, more output, more passion, more hustle. I think that's where balance needs to come in, because we're not robots. We can't optimize forever. There needs to be some balance. There needs to be some rest, some happiness to support all of our efforts.
Completely agree. Balance is the key. It's kind of cliche, but balance really is the key to life. You can never be too much of one thing. And I'm curious now with what you're sharing. Thank you for your transparency in regards to time and flexibility. That really sounds like one thing that might be a struggle for you. I know even for me, it is staying on top of projects. You get to the end of the day, you're like, wow, I didn't touch that. I wanted to touch that today, but I didn't touch it. And so
it's crazy, right? I started using Calendly more recently.
Nice.
With some of my internal team. And that's great because I'm not being pulled in so many directions. I'm like, book in if you want 5 minutes with me. But equally, now I start my day and I'm like, oh, my entire day's been booked up because people have booked in on my calendar. So now what do I do? So yeah, if you figure out like the secret source solution to this, Adam, you have to let me know, man.
I can say for Calendly, if you when you have time, you go in there, you play with the settings, you can make it so that you limit people booking on your calendar. So like 2 bookings per day, 3 bookings per day, et cetera, whatever works best for you. So that's nice. Play around with the settings, but
yeah, I think I need to.
I continue to learn hacks. I'll definitely share them with you. The reason why I wanted to highlight that though, about you mentioning, having what seems like a lot of projects, but maybe not as much time. Again, that's fine. I think we can all relate to that. But are you guys by chance hiring right now? Are you looking to add people to your team? Because we might have some listeners that might want to reach out to you and begin their careers working with Design Cuts.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, generally we hire in-house because we've got a real like family feel. We've got a great culture. And so that tends to work best when everyone's under one roof and interacting and hanging out. But we do have some remote positions. So for example, right now, we're looking for a content creator, someone who's like super savvy with design experience, but also loves teaching. So someone who wants to produce like tutorials, YouTube videos, that kind of thing around like Photoshop, Illustrator, Procreate, stuff like that.
Cool.
So yeah, appreciate the opportunity to put that one out there. You never know, serendipity may connect us with a genius out there.
Exactly. I'd love to see that happen. So I'm happy we got that. Speaking of kind of keeping everyone close by under one roof for the benefit of the company, as you mentioned, remote positions are acceptable, but keeping it in at the core at home is ideal. So you launched your business in your hometown, and a lot of entrepreneurs and people that I've met over the past year and a half are doing this podcast. Oftentimes they are not in their hometown doing whatever it is that they're doing. They kind of got away, they went around, they traveled the world, they saw the world, they found somewhere that they liked to live more than where they're from, and they launched their business there. So tell us about your background and how it's actually worked out for you to stay put, so to speak.
Yeah, it wasn't that intentional, to be perfectly honest. So I'd been pretty badly burnt in business. And I ended up in a meeting with like a friend of a friend of a friend kind of thing, essentially pitching myself to the CEO of a bigger corporate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you guys call it Shark Tank out there. We call it Dragon's Den. Like
Okay.
the TV show. So it was kind of like that. So I was like Oliver Twist in his bowl of gruel, right? And I'm there being like, I'm this young, plucky kid. Do you want to take a punt on me? I think I got some skills. I got some experience, some track record, but not much. Maybe we could do something. So we ended up kind of putting together an early stage team, but I was the only one who was full time. At that stage, there were other directors and business partners, but some of them were involved in the bigger corporate, and others had their own stuff going on. So essentially, they just plonked me in the corner of their sales floor of their corporate office. Mm-hmm. This random kid no one there had ever met with a laptop. And am I allowed to swear on this podcast, Adam?
Go for it, man.
Okay. So I went in there, like like to think I'm a nice person. I'm a good person. But I went in there, I looked like a fucking idiot in my first week because I'd been so used to working from home that I like stroll in, practically have my feet up on the desk. I'm reading the 4-hour work week on my lunch break for 5 minutes while I wolf down some food. So yeah, I'm there like the new kid, and all I'd known was online friends who were running startups and entrepreneurs and that kind of thing. And I'd never done an office job in my life. I'd never done the corporate space in my life. And it took some adjustment. I had to learn how to make small talk in a corporate office kitchen and that kind of thing. But essentially, I just plugged in the corner and just worked myself to death. Everyone was perfectly nice in there, but I think it was nice to see people kind of go from like, who's this cocky kid or like lame kid or whatever, to like, oh, actually, he seems to be kind of outworking everyone else in here and getting results. So that was something I kind of took pride in.
Yeah. So Tom, where do you see yourself and where do you see Design Cuts in the next 3 years?
Yeah, I've got really big aspirations for it. So we are getting into a lot of really exciting projects right now. We're really expanding our marketplace. We're working with more and more unbelievable creatives. But I think and there's other projects which kind of still quite secret, but wherever we go and whatever we expand into, something I'm really passionate about is staying true to our core values. Mm-hmm. And I've seen a lot of people in the space waver from them, whether it's because they've got investors that have kind of detracted from those early stage values, or they just haven't kept up with the growth of it, or whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. It is a real challenge, but the same way you fight to maintain a culture as you expand a team, I think it's really, really important.
Yeah, that is very important. And so is that, again, going with the question, is that your focus over the next 3 years? Is there any definitive goals that you want to hit, like numbers, or, do you want to run a marathon or anything like that?
Yeah, company wise, we've got some quite ambitious goals.
It's best to hold them to your chest. I understand that, so we don't have to go.
No, they're very ambitious. I'm talking like 10% month on month kind of ambitious.
Okay.
So that's the trajectory, but beyond just the numbers, really want us to just become known as like the go-to no-brainer place for designers to hang out, because we are on paper. It's just that not everyone knows about us yet. And I want to change that. And so a lot of it is getting the brand out there, getting the name out there, because as soon as people discover us, they love it. They're like, this is unbelievable value, or like the best customer service I've had, and all the stuff which are our values and that we hold very dear. But yeah, it's going to be a real few years of like getting out there, doing like speaking gigs at conferences. Mm-hmm. We've got quite a popular podcast that is just about to cross 1 million downloads, which is very exciting.
Congrats.
Thanks, man. And so I think that's myself and 3 infinitely more talented than I am co-hosts. And I think the 4 of us are going to like do some speaking tours around that. And just that kind of stuff. We've been quite like head down insular. We're just looking after our community and building it up. And now it's like we're kind of getting out there into the wider world and making even more of a name for ourselves, which is really exciting.
Wow. Yeah, that's really cool to see. And hey, you're in Silicon Valley now, so you can always say that.
Yeah, amen, right? I'm super jealous of where you're based, by the way. I'd love to check it out one day.
Yeah, hey, just let me know when you're in town.
Likewise.
Yeah, definitely. That's one thing we could maybe talk about offline. I have not been to the UK yet. I've been to Europe a few times. That's one place totally on my list right now. So.
Oh man, yeah, you got to do London. And if you do, hit me up and I'll tell you some good places.
Definitely. So, Tom, 3 fun questions for you to close this call out. In no particular order, you can answer these. Your favorite candy, your favorite summer vacation destination, and your favorite pair of shoes that you've ever worn.
Okay, so in terms of candy, I actually don't have like a crazy sweet tooth, so I don't eat much candy. But can I give, what do you guys call it? Dessert? What do you call like the final meal?
Yeah, dessert.
Final course of meal, dessert.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've got sticky toffee pudding out there. It's not candy, it's more dessert, but it's freaking amazing.
Okay, I have not heard of it before.
All right, if you come to London, definitely get yourself some of that. It's unreal. So it's kind of like sponge cake, but with like melted toffee, which soaks into it.
Okay.
Caramel flavor. Yeah, it's
Sounds
really,
pretty
really good. In terms of shoes, I would say I got a pair of Oliver Sweeney's, which I really like. They're kind of like smart dress shoes. Again, I think they're pretty English, but they're super well made. But my day to day, I just rock the Converse.
Okay.
Converse All Stars. So much so, I've got 2 pairs because I just wear through them so quick. I kind of alternate. And then in terms of vacation, I think one of my favorites ever summer vacation was Bali.
Okay.
I don't know if you've been, but that was amazing. Just like the nicest people, so peaceful, so scenic. And then last year went to Tuscany as well, which is a pretty close second because that was just coffee, food, indulgence, and red wine on repeat, and incredible views once again.
Nice. Yeah, I have not been to either. I've been to Italy before. I have not been to, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Tuscany is in Italy, right? I'm right in that?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we went to Montepulciano, which is like real wine country. And oh man, like honestly, I think I put on 15 pounds in a week or something grotesque.
Wow. Yeah, it means it was a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bali, that's one place definitely on the checklist as well, especially, with my girlfriend. Everyone that's cool on Instagram goes to Bali, right? So I guess we have to go there.
Hashtag influencer. Yeah. No, it's amazing. Definitely recommended.
Nice. All right, Tom. Well, thank you for your time. What's the best way that anyone listening can get in touch with you or follow up?
Yeah, if people are creative or designers out there, then definitely recommend my company, Design Cuts. I promise the team here are amazing. They'll look after you very well. In terms of what I'm doing as my side hustle, I just freaking love helping other entrepreneurs. It's such a passion of mine. So feel free if you want to reach out on Instagram, DM me. I'm at Tom Ross Media. And if you just mention that you listen to this show with Adam and I, then I will guarantee I'll get back to you, give you like a video response, whatever questions you have, stuff you're struggling with. I'd love to help with that. And if you want to hear any more with me talking transparently about entrepreneurship, then my show is The Honest Entrepreneur Show, which is available podcast and on YouTube as a video show.
Cool. Yeah, I just followed you on Instagram. I see something about Snoop Dogg karaoke. So
yeah, that comes out from time to time. Ain't nothing but a G thing.
Nice. Tom, thanks again for joining me. It's been a blast.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me on, Adam.
Mm-hmm. Guys, we'll catch you in the next episode. Remember, in all you think, say, and do, take it to the next level.